Chapter 8. Knowing she was about to faint, Ashley collapsed onto the antique settee in the downstairs bathroom of Clark and Miranda's Southern Colonial mansion. With the room spinning around her, she pressed her eyes shut and forced herself to take several deep breaths. Ethan's mugshot loomed before her, searing into her mind. The accompanying news articles she read on her phone terrified her to the core. Somehow, deep in her soul, she'd known the worst would happen, that her ex-husband would escape from prison, and now her premonition had come true. He would be coming after her. Ashley knew that for certain. He could even be at her house now, hiding in the shadows, waiting for her to come home. He might be planning to kidnap her and hold her hostage for testifying against him. First at his trial 8 years ago, and then again for that morning at his parole hearing. A chill ran through her as she realized he could even be here at the charity auction disguised as one of the catering staff. He could surprise her anywhere at any time. Why hadn't the police notified her of the prison break? Right. She'd given them all of her contact information at the hearing. Were they just going to wait until after he committed another crime against her before they took her plight seriously? She had to make them understand the magnitude of the situation, that the lengths Ethan would resort to in an attempt to get his revenge were limitless, that her life was in jeopardy. Ashley needed to get to the police station now. But what would she say to Brett? What excuse could she give for leaving the benefit early? Surely he would understand if she told him she felt sick, which she most definitely did. Forcing herself from the settee, she stood at the vanity sink, her legs shaking, and splashed cold water onto her face. The reflection in the mirror, a pale ghost of herself, shocked her. She had to get her nerves under control. In order to convince the police that Ethan possessed a severe threat against her, she had to appear level-headed, in control of her emotions. She couldn't risk looking like an erratic ex-wife who become unhinged for no good reason. After applying fresh powder to her face from the compact in her purse, she left the bathroom. She wound her way through the crowd on the back lawn searching for Brett. She finally found him in the auction tent, bidding on a Florida resort golf package, Miranda and Bianca at his side. "Brett, I need to leave," she told him. "I'm not feeling well." "What's wrong?" he asked, turning away from the auction table. She paused for a moment, not wanting to lie. "I almost passed out in the bathroom." He clasped both of her hands in his, worry filling his eyes. "Let me tell Dad. I'll take you home." "No, you stay. I know how important tonight is," she said, squeezing his hand. He hesitated, searching her face as though he was trying to determine the seriousness of her condition. Was that concern she saw in his expression now, or was it a hint of doubt that she felt ill? I think it's the doubt. She couldn't tell. "I'll be okay," she assured him, hoping he wouldn't protest. "Promise." Bianca scolded at her, not enjoying the company. She asked, motioning towards herself and her mother. Ashley wanted to wipe the smirk right off Bianca's face. She refused to let her fiancé's sister gall her any further. "It's a lovely benefit, and I hate to leave early," she said, the comment directed more towards Miranda, "but I'm feeling sick to my stomach." She turned back to Brett. "Don't worry about me," she said. "Enjoy the auction, and I'll see you at home later." Although she could tell he had reservation about letting her leave alone, Brett finally nodded in agreement. Ashley felt all eyes on her as she walked across the lawn and backed out the brick path to the driveway. Knowing the event was important to her fiancé and his father, she felt terrible for leaving early. Okay. Even worse, she hated herself for not being completely honest with Brett. Her stomach was in knots, that much was true, but she wished she could explain the reason to her fiancé, wished she had confessed everything to him earlier. After adjusting the driver's seat and strapping herself in, Ashley steered the SUV out of the Holbrooks driveway and headed towards Briarwood. With no way of knowing whether or not Ethan had help escaping or whether he had a vehicle, She kept an eye on the rearview mirror as she drove, making sure she wasn't being followed. By the time she reached the police station, the sun had set. Ashley hurried into the modern gray and white building, glancing over her shoulder as she went. "I need to speak to someone about Ethan Barrett. He just escaped from prison," she told the red-haired female officer manning the information desk, encased behind a wall of bulletproof glass. "Your name?" "Ashley Hope. I'm his ex-wife." The officer keyed the information into the computer on her desk and then asked Ashley to wait in the lobby. Ashley perched on one of the modern pure-hued chairs, finding it impossible to relax. With Briarwood being rated as one of the best places to live in the state, she was surprised by the number of people waiting along with her. Two women, who appeared to be mother and daughter, with a little boy in tow, a man dressed in a business suit, another man wearing cargo shorts and a pullover shirt, and an elderly couple in the corner, a worried expression on both of their faces. The old adage was that crime never rested must be true, even in Briarwood. She studied each of the waiting individuals in turn, wondering what misfortune had brought them here, and what were they imagining about her, the pale ghost in the full-length navy evening gown. Hearing the elevator ding, she turned her attention to the corridor across from the lobby. When the door slid open, a dark-haired man in his early 30s, dressed in a light blue Oxford and navy slacks, a badge pinned to his waist, emerged. His gaze was focused on a tablet, his fingers swiping back and forth across the screen. "Ashley Hope," he called out. "I'm Ashley," she announced as she leaped from the edge of the chair. "Detective Daniel Lansing." As he shook her hand, his inquisitive blue eyes swept over her, seeming to assess her all at once. "Please, come this way." As she followed the detective to a door labeled Reporting Room B, she wondered what kind of impression she made, what conclusions he's already drawn. He was probably thinking her attire seemed rather odd for a visit to the police station. Had he assumed correctly that she had just left a party, or did the dress lead him to believe that she was unstable? The detective opened the door and directed her to one of the black and chrome chairs next to the table with a black laminate top. "You're the ex-wife of Ethan Barrett?" he asked, once they were both seated. "Yes, and I don't understand why I wasn't notified when he escaped." Detective Lansing referred to his tablet. "You still live in Chattanooga?" "No, I live here in Briarwood now. I gave all of my contact information to an officer at the prison this morning." The detective nodded. "Sorry for the confusion. Your updated information hasn't come through yet. We called your old number. Totally our fault." Although Ashley was aggravated by the snail pace at which the paperwork traveled in the justice system, at least law enforcement had tried to get in touch with her. "It was my testimony that put Ethan in prison," she explained. "He wants revenge. I know he's coming after me." She looked directly into the detective's eyes as she spoke, determined to make him understand the gravity of her situation. He returned her gaze, his expression compassionate, seeming to comprehend her fear. "We have to get a lead on his location. It's nowhere near Briarwood," he told her, his voice reassuring. "He was spotted near the Alabama state line." Alabama? Ashley knew Ethan had numerous relatives living in a neighboring state. She traveled with her ex-husband to visit a few of his cousins right after they were married. Still, she had trouble believing that he wasn't heading straight for her. "Are you sure? We got 3 separate reports. A statewide manhunt's in progress, both here in Tennessee and in Alabama." Maybe Ethan's plan was to get help from one of his relatives, money and supplies, a car, but once he got what he needed, she knew he would travel straight back to Tennessee to terrorize her. At his parole hearing, he screamed that he'd make me sorry for testifying against him. "I understand, and I know you're scared, but everything's being done by the book. We'll catch him." Although the police were skilled with conducting manhunts, They never had to track her ex-husband before. He was cunning. He knew the back roads between Tennessee and Alabama well, and he knew how to live off the land. Finding him would not be an easy task. "Will you notify me if you get any more leads?" she asked. "Of course," the detective promised. "He tries to contact you, don't wait. Call me first thing." "I will." The detective seemed to believe that Ethan's focus was centered on evading capture rather than seeking revenge against her. She wasn't convinced. She knew her ex-husband possessed a twisted mind, and he never once failed to follow through on a threat. As she crossed back through the main door of the police station, Ashley scanned the parking lot, looking for anyone who seemed out of place. Even if Ethan had traveled to Alabama, there was still a definite possibility that he hired someone else to hunt her down. Satisfied there were no people lurking in the lot, she ran to the SUV and climbed inside. As she drove towards home, her thoughts turned to the charity auction and the smirk on Bianca's face when she warned Ashley not to get pregnant. Her fiance's sister would probably love to see the wedding canceled. Mr. and Mrs. Holbrook would likely be happy to see their son's relationship end as well. Even if the wedding went ahead as planned, Ashley knew Brett's family would never truly accept her as one of theirs. Her house popped into view as she turned onto Marigold Court. Her stomach tightened when she noticed a light burning downstairs in the study. Brett was already home, and that's the end. I'll see you in chapter 9.